of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our budget review, and I think almost all the parties are here, so we might as well get started with Boston, Operation Oswego County.
Sure. I just want to state that from 2023 to 2024, we are not requesting an increase in budget for this year. It's still the same number, $417,100 that it was last year and in previous years. We have worked together with the County of Oswego IDA to increase the budget from their end to be able to make up some of the increase in capacity that we have. We are also looking in future years to develop some additional sustainable income streams in terms of grant administration and other things like that. But with everything that's going on related to the Micron expansion development, we see this as a great opportunity to really continue to push forward with economic development in Oswego County. So we hope that the Economic Development and Planning Committee would push forward with recommending the budget for approval.
Could I have a motion to discuss? Second? Okay, any questions? First off, Bill, what page is it on?
Page 2.
Page 2, anybody needs that.
Yeah, well, all the
Just one line
on page 2.
Yeah, and then we've got a packet of backup if anybody needs it. So if anybody's got any questions for Boston regarding the budget, concerns.
I'll also state that we have recently filled a personnel role for the Economic Development Coordinator, most people know, Nate Emmons, and then we are also looking at additional potential personnel changes early next year. So that is taken into consideration with the budget number that we provide.
So it's all included in this money. Okay, only comment I want to say is great job, and you got tough road to hoe here with all the stuff that's coming down the pike. So, okay, at that point then, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Thank you, Austin. Okay, Central New York Regional Planning, David Goddard. And what page is that? It's on 2 as well.
All the operating agencies are.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here this morning. Planning Board, Public Planning Agency based in Syracuse, several members on our Board of Directors. We've certainly had a very good year in 2023 and look to be very engaged, certainly here in Oswego County in 2024. Just like Austin, we are making level funding requests to Oswego County for 2024, a little over $64,000 as part of the overall funding that we get from our 5-member counties that really provide the financial base for our operation. The funds we receive from our 5-member counties give us the ability to leverage a significant amount of federal and state grants that often require a local match. So each year I make this explanation that county funds really are the financial base for our organization. With that money, we're able to leverage a little over $3 million to support our overall operation. A good share of that money we pass through to a number of other agencies across upstate New York, and we use a portion of the funding for technical consultant studies for the benefit of our member counties. So we look to have a very engaged program in 2024. We'll continue in each of our major program areas, economic development, land use, comprehensive planning, environmental management, transportation planning. We'll include all of those program areas, and many of those here in Oswego County.
Motion to discuss? Second?
Second.
Questions or comments for David? I have one. I'm sorry.
You may want to share the grant that you received on for the trees.
Appreciate that. Just last month, we received notice we had applied to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Forestry Service
This is the largest grant award we've ever received as an organization. It's a little over $9 million. And we'll have funding to plant 15,000 trees in various communities across central New York. And the typical federal program, certain criteria, certain communities are eligible to be the benefit of these tree planting. And a significant number of communities in Oswego County will be eligible. So we're going to be really reaching out to individual communities. We'll have money to hire an arborist to help a local community, a village or a town plan where they might want trees, what kinds of trees. And so this is a big undertaking for us. We've never been in the tree business. We're going to be now. We're back there. We'll certainly be talking with them. This could be one of those be careful what you wish for award, but very significant things. I'll just mention one other one. We're very involved working with the Port of Oswego this year in securing a $4 million infrastructure grant to support various improvements in the Port of Oswego. So those are two real big highlights for us.
I know that at the last meeting, the speaker, I'm trying to remember his name, was saying that they were going to go out to the communities to see exactly money that would be available for them because of Micron and to see the projects. I'd like to talk to him to find out exactly if there's something the villages or towns need to know prior to their calling to make an appointment to see them.
Yeah, I mean, what Ben was alluding to, Ben Sayo, our last board meeting, we had two staff people from Center State CEO come and present about the Micron project, particularly the $500 million that is available community fund. And if you've been following the headlines locally, there have been a couple of meetings in Syracuse, in Onondaga County, relative to how the Micron Community Engagement Committee is putting together a very high level, I don't know if I'd call it a plan, but they're calling it a strategic plan, thoughts for how the $500 million can be spent in central New York. What Center State is going to be doing, working in partnership with Micron and Empire State Development, is now, as we go into the new year, come out to counties like Oswego County and Cayuga County in a forum like this, and give you an opportunity sort of at the county level to present your thoughts about where that $500 million could best be spent, benefit your communities relative to the Micron project. There has to be a tie to the Micron project. So that's what Ben was talking about. As our board
just to the county, I guess I got the feel that he was going to be actually meeting with village or town reps to get at that level, but you're saying stay at the county level and then we could bring together the towns and villages. Okay.
And what we're encouraging, and you saw that at the board meeting, we've already started to put together a list of ideas, specific projects that we think should be in front of the Micron Community Engagement Committee and Micron itself. One of the things I'm pushing for, and certainly hopefully you picked up on it at the board meeting, is we can get past this very high-level, broad talk about where to spend $500 million. Right now the discussion is, let's spend it on workforce training, K-12 education, things like that. We all get that. I'm like, okay, now let's begin to identify specific projects, because I think each of our counties, I certainly have been on the Oswego County's Micron Strategic Committee with Austin, and Tim's been on it. There's been a lot of good work done in each, certainly in Onondaga County, Oswego County, and Cayuga County. There's a lot of good thinking that's already going on. So I think people are ready. Let's move forward. And that's certainly what I'm pushing.
Thank you. Austin, you have a question?
I just wanted to say that Dave and his office have been very supportive of us in terms of identifying grants, particularly at the federal level. A lot of those flow through his office acts as sort of a clearinghouse regionally for those types of grants through EDA and other sources. And he's been very helpful in identifying and helping us to apply and be a resource to get as much funding back to Oswego County as we can. So I just wanted to put it out there that we work very well with Dave's office. I also sit on that regional planning development board, and I know several other people in the room do as well.
Thank you. So your budget is worthwhile, is what everybody's saying. Any other questions or comments?
Can any of the money, the Micron funding, be used for infrastructure?
Yes, it can, yes.
So sewer projects?
Yeah, and I like to try to use examples to try to get, one of the question came up at our board meeting about infrastructure. And I think I made the example, if you think of certainly here in this county, Central Square, Parish, Pulaski, Mexico, they could all be host communities for 25 more housing units, 50 housing units, maybe in some cases 100 housing units. But oftentimes developers are confronted with a lack of sewer capacity or the lack of water capacity. But I think that's where the tie could be made to say, let's take a portion of the $500 million and capitalize an infrastructure fund so that communities that could host housing, which is a big concern for Micron, could address their infrastructure needs.
I think there's a serious lack of quality condominiums. Especially you've got an aging population that it appeals to, and the fact it's a fractionalized assessment in a condominium, and the ability to come and go, not have to maintain the whole building. We really lack in that area, but I would think we'd have to be near major sewer lines.
Certainly, Village of Phoenix, and I've been working Tim, Austin, with Dave Turner. I know the county's been very engaged. We have the business park in Phoenix and the townspeople. The location of the business park, the location of Phoenix in proximity to Micron. It's a tremendous opportunity. You're working on it as a county. If there would be one place I would direct some of the $500 million in terms of infrastructure in first place is, well, let's direct, I know the cost of expanding the treatment plant in Phoenix, let's direct $10 million to expand the wastewater treatment plant in Phoenix. It will benefit the community, it will support the development of housing. I think you're right about the need for a different type of housing, condominiums. And it would support, the expansion of the business park that Austin's office has been working on. So I'm kind of anxious, as I think you are.
Yeah.
Because, look, we know what we got to do here. Let's just start doing it and stop talking about the vague generalities.
Okay, any other, Tim?
I was just,
I'm sorry.
just kind of, Maria, if there's things like that you would like us to carry, you guys sit on the Central New York Regional Planning Board, I'd be glad to take those to the board meeting and discuss them.
Well, I feel Center State CEO is a place to start to talk with investors. I mean, I think the Spillman property that sits on Minetto's riverfront, 900 feet, if he, the owner said to me, I could take it down in a day. But it sits on one of the oldest mills that is loaded with God knows what. You have to have it tested, which I think this brownfield is an excellent process. There's 900 feet. You could overlook the river. There's eagles fishing. You got the high dam there. I mean, it is primo. And you're right behind the sewage treatment. Right there, you got city water. I advised him to talk to Katie Toomey at the time. She brought a gentleman from Center State CEO. They said, this is one of the most interesting pieces of property left along the river. So I think pieces like that that are possibly in a brownfield situation need to be cleaned up as quickly as possible and prepared for developers. I mean, do I have a developer right now? No, but I think if we clean up our properties that are in disrepair or in question, we could certainly go forward with some great building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great. Okay, any other, Tim?
If I could just give a little update on the $500 million that Micron's bringing to the area. We have one Oswego County person who is on the board that's really overseeing that. That's Christy Yack from SUNY Oswego. She meets with us somewhat regularly in our Micron steering committee. And I know that she had a conversation with Dave Turner about bringing those folks up here to actually have on-site, on-location meetings with our towns and villages. So I believe that is underway. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to get that here to see what we're looking to request. And also, as a quick update, Dave's office at Strategic Initiatives is in the process of hopefully finalizing the contract that we worked with the IDA to put together to give us a good inventory of wastewater needs and what assets we have here with CNS. That's moving along as well. So we're hoping to really start to get a feel for where do we stand today, what are our biggest needs, and then what would it cost to do it. And then I think once we have that plan in place, we can get the money, because you're right, there's money everywhere right now, but you have to have a plan. And I think we'll really come up in a place where we can show that, because, Marie, I know you've been talking about this for years, but, there are a number of our plants that have capacity, and we just need to put these things together the right way. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Dave for the budget?
Well, there's a difference between our biggest need and our biggest opportunities, which is what Marie's really talking about. We got to keep that opportunity idea in mind. Really good points, Marie.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Okay, thank you, Dave. The next one, regional transportation. Tim?
Smoothly manager, or is this the central one?
This would just be, this is not the bus operations, that's the OCO. That would be kind of Heather's report.
Okay, so we're looking at the budget then within the planning budget, that is mobility management, or are we looking at the,
No, this is
central one, right? Yeah.
It's essential.
Yeah.
You have this?
No, I
Oh, you did?
think I have that one, sorry.
Is it like it's in there?
Oh, I do have that there. What about that?
This is our mandated,
This is the central one.
yeah.
They never come to meeting.
It's on page 2.
It's still on page 2.
Got it.
No, they don't come to this meeting, but they have been well represented at our transportation advisory committee meetings.
Well, this is mandated money, right?
It's part of it.
So that's just,
County region.
so you got it, well, motion to discuss? Second.
Second.
Bill, any input on that budget or just mandatory?
That's not the mandatory country.
Questions or concerns?
So our county contribution is listed there as the 90, same thing as last year?
Yeah.
90.
Yeah, I didn't make any changes to the operating.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Paul, Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Sorry, I'm just listening. I don't want to.
He's a stander.
So, thank you for the opportunity to give you a little idea of our request. Like those before me, we have asked for level funding. Much the same way as many agencies in Oswego County, we do receive additional funding from state and federal dollars. And as David said with him, everything that we receive from other entities is predicated on the amount of money we receive from the county. So when it comes to the state money, it's actually a formula. So we have nothing to say about it. What the county gives us is turned into a formula, and then additional money from there. For those that are not aware, our federal mandate is to provide education that is based on research that comes from universities across the country to people to help them improve the quality of their life. I've said this before, we're not a service agency. We don't provide service to anybody. We're an educational agency, and in order for people to partake of our services, you have to want to be part of us. You have to give us a call and ask that you want to do something or partake of one of our programs. I've given you some handouts to show you some of the things we've done, a little basic introduction of who we are for those people that are not aware. Also, we have an ag economic development position that was established many years ago at the request of the county, and we produce all kinds of information to support agriculture and its economic impact in Oswego County. This is our latest brochure that we just put out. This was actually put together with the help of some people at the federal level who were very interested in the project that we were doing because the counties around us do not have this type of a document. So they were very happy to work with us. Hot off the press that I wanted to share with you today, if we had done this meeting last week, I would not have had these. It just got finished. By the way, also, I just want to let you know that everyone in this room missed an absolutely wonderful opportunity because for the meeting that was canceled last week, I was all set and ready to come dressed in as Shrek. And my wife had made me some ears that we used at another thing, and I was ready, but the meeting got canceled, so I'm sorry you're on the outside. You didn't get to see it. But this is the document that we produce each year for the Christmas tree growers. We blow through this document. Everything we produce is usually gone. And one of the big highlights that I want to show you this year, we are absolutely thrilled in the second page of the full page handout. This is a project that we have been working on with BOCES for about 5 years. And it finally happened. BOCES is getting involved with doing a P-TECH type program for agriculture. And we are the support for that program. So they are the ones, it's going to be their space, it's going to be their curriculum through BOCES, but we are the ones that are providing the education. Actually, our people have been going up there to partake in this. And so this has been a long time coming, and we're hoping that this is going to take off and fly. We did have our very first group exposure where we had kids from all the school districts come in and partake of this day. And we're hoping that's going to be fruitful and turn this into something that's going to be lasting. As a final note, Cooperative Extension is proud to say we've worked with every authorized agency in Oswego County. We've worked with all 9 school districts. I think you would be hard pressed to find an agency that doesn't work with Cooperative Extension. So we're here. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We thank you for the support. It's always great to know that our county is behind us, and that we get the kind of support we do. So, thank you.
Motion to discuss?
And move it.
Second? Questions?
No, I just would recommend a special meeting for the Shrek outfit.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go to a Lions get-together for Lions Club, and my wife made these outfits. She was Fiona, and I was Shrek, and she actually made the ears. And I said to her, you know what, I'm going to go and do it at economic development, and then got canceled.
Yeah. Oh, our loss, definitely our loss. Question?
I attended your first agricultural day.
Yeah.
And and I spoke with some of the people of the city, and their manufacturing day. If you look back when that started, it was fairly small, and it's grown into quite you had quite a few vendors there. We had very responded, and some of the staff that I talked to was very excited about this.
We are too. We had so many vendors that we had to put them outside.
Yeah.
So the outside of the building is actually lined.
Well, besides some of those tractors you had to have.
Yeah, well, that and the people that were flying the drones, originally they said they're gonna do it in the room there. I said, that's a smart idea.
Such a.
Any other questions, comments for Paul?
I was curious, is this agricultural specialist position filled?
We are this close to filling it. We just lost somebody to another extension, another cooperative extension.
Oh, okay.
Now, you're not paying for a position, you're paying for the program. So what happens with that position is, if that position is vacant, I take people off of other projects to make sure that whatever we promised to be done for that year gets done.
Okay, so you're
Okay.
close to hiring.
We are.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions for Paul on his budget? And the great programs that we have with 4-H, and you got it.
We try.
You do it all.
We try.
Thank you for everything that you do for agriculture here, Paul.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next on the list. Okay, where's my little? Okay, we got Oswego Soil and Water. Joe, you're up.
All right, thank you very much. We report fairly on a regular basis to the committee, so I think everyone is aware of our accomplishments, and we did just send out the annual report. Happened to be for last year, but I think that's really a testament to kind of how busy we are, how many things we are working on. But we are a natural resource agency, and we're charged with the mission of conserving the soil and water resource, and we do that through a series of programs in 5 main areas, and we have been quite busy in those areas: agriculture, forestry, water quality, and general technical assistance, education, and invasive species. And this is, was a great year last year. This year has been excellent, and I feel as though next year will be, we have even more additions as far as just within those programs, just building those, and I think we've done a pretty good job over the last, 5 to 10 years of just increasing what services we do offer and how we do those. And luckily, we do have ties. All of those 5 basic program areas have ties to major economic drivers within the county, as well as community resiliency. Obviously, a lot of things that we do have to do with farming, forestry, development, even at least the environmental aspect of that, recreation, water supply, and environmentally fisheries and habitat management, which all happen to have ties to pretty major resources or economic drivers within our county, and then also public health and safety as well, depending upon what we're working on. And the one unique thing about our agency is we are boots on the ground, so we really do get right out there and help municipalities as well as the public. And this year, I don't have the exact number, but it's literally hundreds of members of the public from this county, as well as municipalities that we have assisted. We also have ties to the state agency, or the State Soil and Water Committee, and their field staff. A number of things we do will sometimes benefit statewide, some educational things that we've been working on. So this year we do happen to be asking for level funding. Over this year we did one thing. Let me just take a quick step back. Is this year we did bring in about $650,000, and that would be money that would potentially be our time in the field, our time planning, working with partners, which a number of them are happen to be in this room, it's basically, or it can be money on the ground. It can be in the form of concrete, gravel, culverts, projects that go right on the ground for folks. This year, with that said, for the $193,997 that the county gave us last year, which was much appreciated, we were able to bring in a return on investment of about $3.37. So we do have money coming in and going onto the ground. We do project that that'll be higher next year. I think we have a number of things planned that we should get that up quite a bit higher. And one thing that, we do having going on is we're starting to develop a backlog of projects and assistance, requests for assistance. So we definitely, into the future, and we're really looking at maybe next year starting to add staff to the district. Right now we have four individuals. We have a secretary treasurer, two conservation district technicians, and the district manager. So one area that that we would like to concentrate on is water quality. And one thing that will happen is we are bringing in a significant amount of money into the conservation realm of Oswego County, but we would like to be able to take advantage of some of these competitive, more competitive grants. And really, it's just a matter of just time. We have everyone as maxed out as possible right now, and I think we do need at least one other person. And in the future, I would say the next 5 years, it could be 2 people. But that's a definite need. So I may certainly, ask the county in the future for some assistance with that. We'll be looking at finances this year, and also building up that potential backlog or just potential projects that are either double ready or at least potential to grow our current programs. And I think that growth trend it will probably continue for at least a little while here. But either way, we are I think we're putting some good things on the ground, offering some great assistance out there, and I do see a very active 2024. And I certainly appreciate the county's support, and this committee specifically appreciate your support in the past, and would definitely appreciate that continuing going forward with our level request of $193,997.
Motion to discuss? Second?
Second.
Questions? Doreen?
I don't have a budget question. I have a tree question. Would you be able to partner with his grant to replace ash tree loss that is vast throughout the county? I don't know what is an appropriate replacement, but
as Steve stated, there would obviously be restrictions, whatever their grant states. But yes, I would be more than willing to to assist in any way for that. And there are and that's a tough one. It would, a lot of the money's coming through a municipality. The goal is to put that on municipal ground, and so for the private individual, there may be a few things, and we can certainly talk after. But there are things coming down the pipeline, like the urban and community forestry grant as well. If for some reason, that particular grant can't satisfy that, but there are some things coming that may be able to help with that. Absolutely.
thanks, Joe. We have to get behind this. Is a huge loss.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Right.
Well, at minimum, you could do advice. You could provide advice.
Yes, minimally, yeah. I know the one thing, I know you did mention it, and as much as next year when you're preparing your budget, that you will most likely be asking for increase. And this year you're going to spend time trying to figure out how it would fit in. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Work out obviously there's logistics, office space, and, vehicle usage, things like that, benefit package, all that. We have to work those things out, but obviously, what would that individual do? We'll need a really clear plan moving forward, and so that would be what this year would be used for.
How confident are you, Joe, with the grant and the grant funding in the state aid, receiving those dollars in those amounts?
It's coming in at a pretty consistently, and I don't have any reason to doubt that will come in. It's not it's not all just handed to us or easy money, and a lot of it is earned, and even we have a significant part that we call Part C of our state funding, and we actually we utilize our hour to earn that, and so some of that goes onto the ground. So a lot of it really is boots on the ground planning, meetings, working with the people of Oswego County to earn that, and but relatively confident. There are, a number of things out there, like with the agricultural environmental management, program. There are some things that we would have to, leave on the table. There's a little bit of money that we can potentially in the future earn, but
honestly, with the amount of people that we have that are able to work on that program, we just right now we can't get ourselves up there. And it's not, it's in no way a negative, thing, because we're definitely, just completely maxed out at this point. So if we have an extra person, we may be able to shift some roles and some duties and have access to that. But it's also would just be a major, just to have that time to apply for some of these competitive grants, because it's tough to take yourself off something that's definite or guaranteed funding to go for something that's a maybe, obviously, and those, everybody here knows you're taking a week out of your yearly schedule to apply for one single grant. But as far as state, just to answer that in short would be yes. I'm quite confident that that's coming as far as the state.
You should use that as your justification, for additional help if there's additional revenue.
Question. Anybody else? Any questions or comments for Joe? And once again, you've got a big load ahead of you because there's a lot of stuff. And then we work with Dave with those 15,000 trees.
Absolutely.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Oswego County Opportunities, no one is here to give us anything.
That is simply a pass-through.
Just a pass-through?
Right.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments?
Were they invited this week?
Yes, everybody was.
I came last week.
Oh, okay.
Motion to discuss?
So moved.
Second? Okay, no other comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, and passed then. Thank you. Next, workforce development. Before we introduce Rachel as a new member here of this committee and what we're being able to do for it, I think we need to have a little bit of an explanation as to what this workforce development is. And what I would like to say is this is fine-tuning of the need for workforce development in Oswego County versus what we have now. We are a little bit bound by federal regulations as to who we can help to get employment, and it really is geared towards people that already are getting help. They've already gone to DSS and they have a lot of barriers, several barriers to be able to work. And the federal government, if you want to get money, you have to be one of these. I think we're opening it up a little bit to kids coming out of high school that are still living home even with mom and dad, and they're like, I need help, I don't know where to go. This is somebody that can help them, get a little training for that, and we'll be able to do it within house. And I think this is, to me, because of especially the development that we're hoping, the opportunities that we know are going to be there. As I said before, I think this is the best thing since sliced bread. If we're going to get development for our workforce, we really need people that are falling between the cracks, that are wanting to work. They're here, help me. And so we'll still be helping those people that have a lot of barriers, that are single parents, or they're in the foster care or whatever. There's so many people that they still need help. We're not taking away from that. We're just adding, and we're extending the people that we can help. Bill, you got anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah. Some factors came together this year that produced this proposal. One, first of all, let me introduce Rachel Pierce. She's well known to the Human Services Committee, but we wanted to have her present to this committee because part of this proposal is to shift the, I hate the word paradigm, but that's what it is, of workforce development being strictly a public welfare approach to an economic development approach. And we want to bring this workforce development into this committee as part of that, as well as talking to the staff and changing some of the things that that department does, gearing it towards economic development and gearing it towards the work-eager people, not just the people who need to fulfill a requirement to get to the public assistance. As I said, one of the things that happened is I did a mid-year visit with all department heads earlier this year. and I met with Rachel, and she's done a great job within the limitations of what the federal money allows us, meeting all the goals. I think in a moment of candor, you admitted to me that you had a lot of great ideas and feel frustrated because you have to work within these confines. And you saw what was coming. Rachel has been involved and is plugged in with what's happening with Micron, with all our local industries. Last year, you may recall, she successfully brought the Workforce Development Board out of the college and back under the county in an incredibly short period of time, very successful. Also had the announcements by Micron and all the expectations that is bringing and challenges. We have been meeting with our counterparts in other communities where Micron had come in. And we're not only talking about broadband and water needs, we've also talked to them about workforce needs. And what became apparent, particularly with Manassas, they already had the workforce in place because Micron came in and took over an IBM facility. So their population had a core, a bunch of people who could go to work. We don't have that. And we need to form partnerships between us and the education institutions, the labor unions, and the industries here to begin preparing and providing training and opportunities so that our people can take advantage of what is coming here. Can't do that necessarily within the restrictions of all the federal funding. So what we are proposing to do is there is still the federal mandate for lack of a better term, welfare to work. We started looking at leaving that within DSS and pulling out the non-welfare to work stuff into a separate department that would not have the restrictions of that DSS has to work under. It would change the whole approach to workforce development to an economic development approach. We'd be able to set, importantly, our own local criteria for use of these programs to meet our own local needs as to what is happening here. The other things, we have the money to pay for. We can use American Rescue Fund plans, which partly this is how that money was intended. So we have, in my opinion, the person, the financial resources, and the environmental need in our economy to do this. So now's the time to do something that government doesn't do very well, doesn't like, and that is change. We've been working under the same structure since the late 80s. But it's not the late 80s anymore. Late 80s was a time where we had lost Miller, we had lost Nestle's, and now we're in a time of growth. Counties, and you'll see we're doing similar stuff around us, have to change how we approach certain things we do. And this is one of them. So that's why you have this proposal in front of you. Roy is here. The Human Services Committee approved this by motion yesterday to cover it. So we thought we'd have Rachel Pierce come in and help present the budget for this.
So, at this question, Rachel, if you'd like to give an overview of your budget, then we'll open it up for discussion.
And that budget is on page 178.
So I'll start this with the, our personnel. We are actually fully staffed, at the moment. We just filled our tightest position. So we're fully staffed at this point. We don't see any growth unless some of the grants that we have applied for or, plan to be applying for with, different projects with Micron and other advanced manufacturers and construction around the area. If those come through and how they come through the funding, additional funding for that, we might look for additional personnel. But at this point, we're definitely able to execute what we're looking to at this point. Majority of the funding in this budget is still coming from our WIOA funding, which is what we've worked under and what our Workforce Development Board is also mandated under, and the Workforce Development Board does oversee all of that funding. So you see as you go through some of the service lines of what we're offering to folks through the past with the training, on the job training, scholarship payments. There is sometimes discrepancies from 22, 23 to our 24 proposal, but that's based on our WIOA funding. But what I did add into a draft proposal for this is additional funding from the ARPA funds, and what we're proposing to be able to increase those services apart from the mandates that we are under the federal regulations that we are. When it comes to our youth, which for WIO is 16 to 24-year-olds, it's extremely prohibitive in who we can serve. They have to be low income, and they have to have an additional barrier to employment. And then there are still more restrictions when they come to us if they're in school or out of school. If they come to us when they're in school, no matter what that level, we cannot help them with scholarship funding, which to me makes no sense when you have somebody come to you as a high school senior and they want to go on to CCC or to BOCES, an adult ed program, and we can't help them with the cost of that because of WIOA regulations. So that is a big part of what we're looking to increase with an additional $80,000 from ARPA to help those students in that emerging workforce. So that is a huge part of how we're going to move forward. With all of the incoming opportunities from Micron, but also to be able to support our current advanced manufacturers as well. Because there's been a lot of conversations I've had with Hudabanki, Novellas, and such, and they are worried. Constellation, another one, they are worried Micron coming. So we're working also with all of those businesses and what they need. We're looking at professional skill development with people that are already employed, and that is a hurdle with our WIOA funding too. It's very focused on unemployed, low income, underemployed, but not for folks that are already working that need some additional skill building to be able to promote and really grow within the industry certain. So that's another avenue we're really looking at with customized training programs, which we can do customized training under WIOA. And we'll look to see what we can still fund under WIOA, but being able to offer more scholarship funding and more customized training for these businesses that are coming to us. And that's another shift that we've seen, especially since COVID. When I started working in the Career Center 12 years ago, it was very customer-based. The individual would come in, what does the individual need, what can we help them with? And since COVID, the individuals are not coming in anywhere near the pace that they were. The businesses are coming in, and then we are recruiting the people needed to fill those needs. So it's a little reversal, but it also, we're hindered by the funding and the time. So by separating from DSS, it allows myself and others to not have to focus on the mandates coming from the New York State OTDA and get to look at under Department of Labor instead, that do have some of those work-eager programs that we're looking for, but being able to look outside of WIOA funding too and having the time to do that. Because currently, there's the team in DSS, there's the team at the Career Center, and the Workforce Development Board, and it's a lot. And I will say in the past year since the Micron announcement, the number of meetings added has astronomically grown as well. I've met more people in the past year, I think, in the 10, 15 years before that. It's amazing. But it also helps. You know, I'm in conversations right now of replicating Syracuse building their Pathways to Apprenticeship program. We've got a grant into the federal government right now to try and bring the Oswego build spoke of a CNY build to the area. And I already have letters of support that if we don't get the federal grant, Department of Labor and New York State ESD are both willing to throw money towards this project, and that's for the whole CNY build. So that's coming down the pipeline. We're working with Center State CEO right now on a CDL training initiative, and we actually have later this month planned a stakeholder meeting, and there's already funding to do a first cohort or two for that. We are also in talks with Hugo Community College, working with MACNY on their Real Life Rosies program that they have at Mohawk Valley Community College, getting women into manufacturing with a pre-apprenticeship program, and looking at a ESD grant for that as well, but replicating that program then here with CCC and their Advanced Manufacturing Institute. So we're in all talks with this, and what we're looking at as the Career Center to come forward is being able to eliminate those barriers to employment, because that's what it's really coming down to for a lot of people. It's a skills gap, but it's the transportation and the childcare, and sometimes it's the mentoring, which we have a contract with OCO with our youth for that. But also just having that case management and someone to help these folks along the way. What's the next step? And not concentrating solely on putting a resume together and helping somebody job search. Because that has changed, obviously, over the past 15, 20 years. It's all done online. Somebody can just go and put their information in the computer and it's done for them. So we need to then evolve and remain relevant with what's going on at this point. And, we see that as helping to build these systems for skill building so that our community can really grow and adapt and keep up with all the industry that is coming, and have all these opportunities for our young folks that are coming through. And we want to be able to go into the schools, the primary schools, and reach out to these younger kids and just show them what is out there. Right now, with WIOA funding, I can't serve anybody under 16. I can't even go to an elementary school and talk to those kids. I can't go to the high school and talk to a freshman because they're not 16. And that's how restricted this is. So this opportunity, it's not only an opportunity for our department and the county, but it's just an opportunity for all the community residents around here.
Open discussion, motion, second. Okay, questions?
Thank you. Amazing job. This is, looking at some of the WIOA rules and regulations, it's incredibly daunting. So what you've done here, I think, to split this off is just amazing. I hope it helped that we had brought the whole thing in-house first, so you had a sense of what's going on. Just a couple things. You mentioned an 80,000 internal ARPA. I only see the one line for ARPA. Is that all bundled into one line?
Yes, the revenue is.
Okay, the revenue, yes, exactly.
And that's, if you recall, that's on drawdown plan 226.
Right, and so 1.2 million basically of the total WIOA stayed over at the DSS side.
WIOA funding is...
Well, I just did that as the difference between the 2023 adopted and what we're actually looking for in this draft is 1.2 million. So I'm assuming that that's what stays. Oh, and there is some WIOA on the DSS side.
There's not WIOA over there, so we get money through OTDA with the Triple FS funding, which serves low-income TANF 200%. That has always been split between the DSS budget and ours, but that primarily has funded the Mexico team of employment and training.
Okay.
So that is staying there. We're still in discussions on a couple service projects, but it wouldn't be for personnel.
So really what's happening then is we're lower in our total WIOA ask. Is that why the number is so much lower from what was adopted before?
That's whatever the state decides to give us for WIOA. I have zero control over that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so this special grant is the amazing thing about all of this is a zero local share, and we're going to do this. This is all amazing.
Special grant is just the name of the fund, the CD fund.
Okay. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Austin?
I just want to add that from my conversations with site selectors from around the country looking at locations, new business, that workforce and labor force is their number one criteria. And so if you do not have a ready, willing, able labor force, you get taken off the list pretty quick. And that happens in times when you have low unemployment. As low unemployment gets lowered, like that becomes a higher critical thing because there's just less people to go around for these different things. So even though, I think this is a critical issue now, I think it's going to continue to be for us going forward. And this really helps us to control our own destiny in terms of being able to have a strong workforce.
Ray, did you have a question?
I have quite a few. It's great that we're doing this. Fortunately, in New York State, any low-income child can probably go to a community college for free. And their guidance counselor can help them through that. I mean, that's an important thing for them to know. Mm-hmm. But one question I have is, can we tie a job training to qualifying for DSS? Or can they just opt to not get trained for anything?
On the DSS side, if they are deemed able to work, then they are mandated to search for employment.
There's
training, that's they don't mandate that. That's not in the regulations.
But I mean, we are desperate and desperately in need of workers. Mm-hmm. I remember sending back 2 grants, one for CDL, one for a nursing, going from a CNA to an LPN, and the LPN, they didn't want to do it, they didn't want to do the work. It was maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, which made me sick to my stomach. I mean, becoming a nurse, getting a CDL is a life changer for a family. That elevates, that's huge. But the general thing I hear is you need some child care. Mm-hmm. So maybe some money could be funneled into child care. So yes, here you have child care. There's no excuse that we can't get the training. So the piece about going to college, in New York State, you can go for nothing if you're low income. You can do a community college for sure. LPNs and RNs are desperate in these 2+2 programs. Mm-hmm. CDL training is around a $10,000 license, which now you have to go through an actual, you can't ride with somebody and get a CDL anymore. You have to go through CDL training.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now, and actually trying to train more trainers and working with businesses on that, because with MTS closing, BOCES is the only player in town.
My brother's a mason, my entire family, my dad was head of the building trades for 40 years, started Think Brick in New York. Right now, they can't get anybody. Mm-hmm. They cannot get anybody. And I talked to Paul Castaldo Jr., who's a large company. He said, Masons are becoming extinct. Mm-hmm. Now that's terrible. It's the foundation of all buildings. Yeah. And I mean, I remember when my brother became an apprentice and he got to go to Cathedral at REM. He said, I don't want to go. My father said, you're going to go. You're going to learn arches. You're going to learn marble, because these are lost arts. But every trade right now will take an apprentice. And I do think they should make a big deal in the paper with a signing bonus or a signing. I've been approved to be taken into the International Brotherhood of Electrical or Carpenters or Bricklayers, Masons, and Plasterers. I know right now if you took any strong, able-bodied kids to the Bricklayers, Masons, and Allied Crafts, they get hired. They get taken into the apprenticeship immediately. Yeah. So I think a big meeting with the trades, a big meeting with school counselors.
That's where it is, because a lot of the schools, they get their money from how many kids they get graduate and then enroll in college. So they don't push the kids to the trade. So,
Exactly. Well,
right. So
my
those are the conversations that we're trying to have.
Well, I want you to talk to my daughter, who's a school counselor who adores PTAC and
Oh, there are ones in there, but
adores it. She said, not every kid can go to college. And then it sets them up for failure.
Mhm.
But that kid might be an unbelievable Mason.
Yeah.
And a kid whose dad worked for me, he didn't do anything. And my father said, Billy, I'm gonna build a lead, and I was building a huge building on my property.
Yeah.
He said, I'm gonna teach you how to lay block.
Mhm.
And I'll come back every 3 or 4 hours and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
He not only became a Mason, he's one of the main guys who goes around for the state and inspects buildings. His entire family was on DSS support, illiterate. He's got a job that is over 200,000 right now. It's going all over the state.
And those are the kids we want to help, and right now, those are the kids we can't, he could be low income, but if that individual student doesn't have a disability, homeless, in foster care, is parenting at 17, we can't help him. That's how
So
restricted
maybe we
it is.
need to go to the state and say, go to Albany and say, we're in trouble here.
The state has it,
Yeah.
it's the best.
No leadership. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
we're doing
Give
this.
us the local flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the nursing, CDLs and trades are
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah, our focus right now, transportation, advanced manufacturing, construction, and healthcare. But we have actually Mark Brown of Oswego Health is our board chair. He's a great champion. He himself or other representatives are on every committee with our workforce development board. And we actually end up funding probably 80% of the LPN students with both these programs every year.
Thank God.
And they come out between, if they're an Oswego Health employee, they're getting $10,000 towards that. In 2020 and 2021, we had so much additional WIOA funding. There wasn't a single LPN that came out of that class with any debt. We made sure they all went through it with zero tuition. We don't have that amount now, but we're giving them as much as we can, so they do have minimal. But yeah, absolutely.
Got Paul back there, got his hand up.
I would love to have an opportunity to sit down with you and talk about this new program we're doing with BOCES, because if we know where you can dovetail before the kids get into the program,
Yep.
then we can steer them in that direction.
Yeah, I'm with Brian Heffron probably 2-3 times a week, so we
Okay.
can definitely,
All right, so I'd love to have an opportunity to sit down with you.
yes.
Thank you.
Bill, you had a couple questions.
No, I just wanted to let the committee know that I did meet with the executive committee of workforce to talk about all this, and they were supportive and feel this was the right move as well. Then they told me they'd be willing to honor.
Are you working with On Point for College?
Yes,
Okay. So that's, provides money that's wraparound, that's outside of the government, things that government can do to help keep somebody, once they start school, in school. They can do anything. They can help with housing, they can help with transportation, all kinds of stuff. It's a wraparound service and even counseling, so. And now, is Carla still doing that in the county?
Yep.
And she's awesome, Carla Boyce.
I see that there's always that old adage that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. What this is we're preventing people from having to go to DSS. We don't have to work at once they're there. Now we got to get them off. We're not going to get them there. We're going to prevent them. So this is a preventative thing that I think is the best thing that the county best spent money that we can do for workforce. Any other comments? Paul?
Yeah, to Marie's comment, and Rachel and I have talked about this in the past. This hasn't changed since 1975. Guidance counselors are always pushing to get these kids to go to college. And I've been in BOCES program, and I took heating the first year in 11th grade, and I wasn't going to be a plumber. So I took heavy equipment repair and operations in my senior year. Well, here's an old tractor trailer that somebody donated to us. There was 4 of us that worked on it, and 3 of us got our licenses before he graduated from high school. And for 40 years, that's what I've done.
It's a great program.
Yeah, and I did go to college. I went to Morrisville for 2 years. So, yeah, I kind of appeased the guidance counselor, because I've known this guidance counselor. He was my gym teacher when I was in grade school, and he told me, he says, "You're smarter than this. You need to go to college." And no, I don't need anything. I need a paycheck. And basically, 1983, I started my own corporation. I run the corporation for 40 years. I'm sole proprietor, and Bosse's Cooperative Extension. Yep.
Well, many counselors love the program. And I think if you talk to them, especially in the middle school area where they're starting to introduce them to P-TECH and go out, there's an excitement about it. And there's an understanding that not everybody is going to go to school.
That conversation is happening. I've actually talked with Brian Polvino of Fulton School District, and it's great to see it at the superintendent level that he wants every kid walking across the stage as they graduate to either have a school or the industry or the employer that they are going to.
A direction.
Yes. Yep. And I'm actually meeting next week with City of Fulton has a 6th grade guidance counselor that floats around to all the schools, but she's there to help guide these kids so when they get to 8th grade they can choose P-TECH or one of the early college high school programs in their path. But I'm meeting with her next week just to kind of introduction, what do you need, what can we do, and really get that conversation going, because there are school districts that are more welcoming to us coming in, but we're getting there. We're getting into
we're not welcome.
Some just want to do their own thing and don't. Yeah, we're getting there. It's been a lot better in the last 4 years.
Which was, I don't know if you, Marie, might remember some of this, but when we were working with the anti-poverty task force, initially a lot of the schools were not really that happy about coming on board, but slowly as we talked about more of this stuff, they were getting more involved. The idea that they keep, the number of kids that we found that were going to college but then dropping out with debt was, for Oswego County, the percentage was pretty staggering. You know, so this idea of forcing them, and I love your idea of having them talking with the trades and trying to guide kids. If they don't know about these potential jobs and these apprenticeships, they'll follow their parents. Think, well, I got to send you to college. I got to find a college to send you to. You know, so it's not maybe only an education for the kids. Sometimes it's about trying to get the word out that, hey, there's a whole range of things right now that are going to be fields that are going to be really profitable for kids to get into, and not every kid is going to go to college. Right?
Every equipment, crane operation, all of it.
Yeah, I've been meeting a lot with the Central Northern Building Trades Council and the leadership there because of the Pathways to Apprenticeship program and replicating Syracuse.
And it's a 10,000-hour apprenticeship with school time at night. I mean, it's a rigorous program.
Yes.
With all the discussion that has been at the federal level about student loan forgiveness, etc.
Yeah, it's a country-nationwide issue.
Yes.
Not just Oswego County.
But it's the conversation, and there's been so much with people saying, I can't pay my loan back, I haven't been able to do this, that it's scaring kids not wanting to get loans, is what's happening. They're a little bit more aware of it. So maybe that will slow the thing that I got to go to college. Wait a minute, I don't want that loan. Versus years ago, kids weren't even thinking about the loan. Oh, okay, I'll get a loan, I'll sign, not even think of it. Now it's a little bit more real because you had so much conversation about these loans you can get $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 that you're strapped with, and then they don't go in the field that they want to, they don't have it, and the problem paying back. So I think it's been more of a reality thing, is that what these loans are.
Yeah, well, and the federal government makes it ridiculously easy. You get signed up for school, you're in, and all of a sudden here comes the number. Well, you can have this, $7,000, $8,000 a quarter. And all of a sudden they've got, and then, they may have gotten some other loan with a private institution, but there you go, all of a sudden 2 years they've got, $12,000, $24,000 in debt. You know, it's
Very quickly. You may get tuition free. Oh my God, great.
And the
But room
interest
and
rates
board
are not cheap.
is almost as much as the tuition. It's like $40,000 in Syracuse for room and board, not even
Right,
tuition.
and at a community college, you can work locally.
Right.
That's basic.
Right, there is. So any other comments or questions for our new department?
I do want to add the summer youth employment program, which that money does come through the local DSS, and that's across the state how it works. We've already got an agreement that money will continue to be signed over to the Oswego County Workforce to operate the program as we have for decades.
right. One word, Godspeed. This is the best thing we've done in a long time.
Last idea.
Yeah.
Presentation at all school board meetings.
Working on it, right?
There we are. Yeah, she's right up there. Great job. Best person we can have to be taking care of this, really. Thank you so much for stepping up and saying yes. You're excited about it. You got the passion for it. There's gonna be great things happening. All those in favor of this budget? Any opposed? Budget passes. And promotion in tourism. Tim.
All right, well, I'm going to kick it over to Dan to kind of go for any questions that anyone has. But a couple things I would like to just highlight. I think the most exciting piece of this is that the bed tax revenue, which we all know is it's taxes that we take in off of rooms that are rented in our county from those who are outside of our county, right? We've all long talked about how that's an encouraging number. That's money that we can bring in that's not on the back of our residents, right? And so that has increased in the last 5 years, $200,000, over 35% increase in the last 5 years. So we are this year scheduled to take in more than we ever have before, and we are expecting an even greater increase next year. And that is, there's a number of reasons we can discuss kind of typically what we believe is drawing that. But what I would say is that it is encouraging again that our tourism office has really done an amazing job. We're in the process, I don't want to sell against them, but they're doing a great job, and I'm really encouraged, and you should all be, I think, very encouraged in the direction we're headed. So, go ahead.
So, the three things that changed on this budget, salary and wages, my salary went over to the tourism department. That's the increase there. Reproduction expense, we did 2 budget mods last year. As you can see, the original was $6,000 for 2023, the revised was $21,000, and this year it's $25,000. Next year we will have the solar eclipse. We will also have the Outdoor New York State Writers Association will have a conference here in June. It seems like we are a destination for these. Last year we had the New York State Tourism Conference here. People are coming, people enjoy their time here, people want to go outdoors, so that's something why the reproduction expenses increased, as well as the other travel reimbursements. We'd like to do more shows around the Northeast to inform people to come to Oswego to stay. Obviously, Tim's saying that the bed tax revenue increased. We are doing more reaching out with TV ads, commercials, magazines throughout the Northeast, and just like we did in the Onondaga County, to let people know that it's just a short drive for a weekend getaway, to go to our beaches, to visit our wineries, to visit our apple orchards, get a Christmas tree, etc. So that's the only big three things that changed in this budget for an increase. With that being said, I'll take any questions as to anything else that's there.
Motion to discuss? Second?
Second.
Okay. Questions? For promotion and tourism. One of our biggest draws of Oswego County. We've got all that fish and sailing and trails and you name it. It's awesome. And the website.
We're hoping actually today we'll have something clickable, and then we have about 2 weeks to review it, so.
Okay, now when can we get into seeing it ahead of time or not?
Once I hopefully get back to my office and get something that's clickable today, yeah. I was told it was today, and we have about 2 weeks, so to make modifications where if we don't like something, we do have a video that we did to sort of on the main page, so when people land on the site, there's a newer video that will be there, sort of to move around so hopefully today we'll have something that's
will we be emailed?
Yes.
So they'll know that
Yeah, just to look at and to give your input or anything you'd like to change, you're more than welcome to.
Okay, perfect.
And I was going to say afterwards, but something you want at the legislation for all the events in November.
Oh, thank you.
Coming up.
Yes.
Just let me know what you think about it as well.
How's your interaction with local chamber of commerce and
Really well. We work with, Sarah Broadwell as best we can. But the majority of it is actually, taking trips to Phoenix, to Pulaski to figure out, what they're doing, what's new, similar to what Marie asked about events that's going on, throughout the county. Just asking them what do they need help with, what you need to promote. The Salmon River is something we're always at least once a week just to go up or send someone up to, do we need more fishing guides? Do we need more Salmon River maps, etc. But
so you feel you're getting good cooperation?
Yeah.
Interface with them?
I would say so, yeah. Okay, so.
I'd like to see a nice glossy version of this.
Yeah, I was happy about that. I mean, going back to the Christmas tree farms, we, as I discussed last week, we did a promotion in Syracuse Mall, their Destiny, at the main, video board that there are numerous Christmas tree farms. Again, trying to get people to come into the county to not only just spend money, but also spend a night in Greece spectacular.
So, how's the tourism advisory committee meetings? Are the chambers still pretty well represented, or?
They're not so much represented, no. Not too many chambers. It's more local historians or local historical sites that do come that are.
Well, I would think you'd want to maybe try to invite them again, because I know while I was on the committee, we had they just started up the one down in Brewerton. And they started coming, they got pretty active, and so just every once in a while, it's just nice to say, even if it's just like kind of a quarterly thing where you could even let them do a presentation about their chamber or whatever, just kind of get them back in the loop. And to the website, how are you managing the integration of the new website with the current county website? Are there gonna be a lot of bounce back between them, or is,
it would be two separate websites like it is now, but the newer website will have a small section on Micron, as well as a small section informing people about the eclipse as well. It's not really bouncing back and forth.
Well, I guess what I mean by bouncing back and forth is there has to be places in the current website that direct over to the tourism website, but there also has to be some things that if you're looking for this, you have to bounce back to the county website.
Sure, there'll be links to that for that. That will, go back and forth.
And last thought, however, we can continue to promote to our state legislators the idea of getting the vacation rental fees. It would increase that income there of 768 by probably at least a quarter, if not $500,000.
Sure.
Marie here.
Just an idea, this is just an idea. If you had a series of strategically placed kiosks, like I'm an addicted shopper and I've not gone to the mall since all the shootings, I'm not going again. And I could have been a tour guide. But what if downtown you had, touchscreen kiosk work, restaurants, sightseeing, phone numbers, coordinates, whatever. But that would be a really, I think, convenient, you don't have to man it, have information about hotels, fishing guides. And people like a kiosk. There's a map on it.
Up at Legends Field with all the traffic moving through there, if you look at their so-called, not kiosks, but their Hall of Fame word stuff, we are in the process of next year ordering some of those, and our thought process was to order more of those where it's a covered, not like a kiosk, but like an information board, but it's covered so nothing will get wet, but also expanding it from Legends to like Selkirk Shores, somewhere in downtown Phoenix, etc., where there's information there for people that are visiting. It's something we are considering around the county to have more of. Not necessarily a kiosk where there's kiosks down in the basement that was ordered years ago that I looked at that it's kind of, but it didn't really do its justice. But having more information kiosks set around the county where
Well, I mean, if you went to like Longwood Gardens in Philadelphia or Mall of America or places like that, you'd see really effective, beautiful, all-weather kiosks that you can get information, any information you want, and they're out there and available and interactive and easy.
Sure.
Just didn't you used to have something like that at Destiny, right when you walked in?
They had a bunch of Destiny. I just won't go in there anymore.
No, but we do have something there. Do we still have any kind of a?
I'd have to look into it, but I'm not too sure.
I never saw an Oswego County thing at Destiny.
There's an I Love New York up on one of the, the levels that you come in. There's a
We were
whole thing about
represented
New
in
York.
that, yeah. It's been a long time since I've been there too, so I'm not, maybe not the
I'm just talking in your face, walk up to it, you have extended cover on it, could be all leather, could have every piece of information for the area, boom, 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 phone numbers, restaurants, guides, ratings.
Can you make them bulletproof and vandalism proof? I mean,
Well, I mean, common areas like near the, right at, near the police station or right near the, I mean.
Sounds like a city thing to me.
So did you,
Well, but
The city should do it.
But I think in different areas it'd be interesting.
I know that, like, so in the Village of Phoenix right now, they're doing their New York Forward, and they're just wrapping up on that. Part of that is a wayfinding. They have some money set aside for that, so maybe just some coordination with the county in terms of making sure some of the county tourism assets or things that we would want to have put out there are there, so they don't get done with doing this process and we say, oh, we missed an opportunity to potentially work with them, and so it could be something you do either with municipalities or the chambers. Maybe that's another way to do it, so you're not working directly with. It can become a collaborative project where the county tourism and chambers are working to do something in different places. Yeah, there's some funding that's already out there for wayfinding and things like that, and so taking another step and say not just wayfinding, but providing them information about private businesses.
Wayfinding.
What's that?
Wayfinding.
Yeah, wayfinding. So say if you're someone new visiting a place, it's a way of using signage and information to kind of get you to where you want to go or to get you new information about what is out there. So it could be like a kiosk, could be part of wayfinding. It could be using signage that is, decorative signage and other things that sort of ties things together. So like a maritime district could have wayfinding signage so you kind of understand you're in a place that is, all sort of tied together.
QR codes too that you see on places that
could be part of it.
There's all your
That could be part of
information
it.
that you want.
Yeah, it could be on signs you have that, and then that takes you to more information. So you can't put everything in one sign or whatever, but you could do something to notify people that there's more to learn about that place you're in, or So I think there's all sorts of ways you can do that. Everyone does it a little bit differently, but
It's the same QR codes that we used up on the Legends Field and also at Derby District, where it's a banner that will have a QR code on it. Take your phone and scan.
Okay. Then where does that go directly to?
Our old website, but that's why we're still behind on our, well, not behind, but they are designed as our Eclipse glasses will have a QR code that will take you to the new website.
Okay.
So everyone that gets glasses, whether we hand them out, whatever, area, could be able to take a picture of that QR code and take it right to the store.
So the code's going to be right on the glasses.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And getting that QR code out will get you a lot of the information that Ray's talking about. You can get that
I
out
still
there.
think kiosks are good.
We actually have had, we've had conversations, I believe, where we've already started pricing up those kiosks. So I think it's a great idea. We even look at the North Shore as another location for one. So we're going to really try to get those out there. And we're also working on trackable QR codes, which I think is going to be really exciting, where someone scans it and it'll tell us exactly where they are when they scanned it, which QR code specifically they scanned it.
For small, purchasing prices, I can even pay them on back of where that person scanned the QR code, where they were, where they went on the website. So.
Where the interest. To the interest. Any other?
If I could just follow up to Legislator Real's question. I know it's been a conversation in this committee for quite some time. There has been an employee brought into the county who's going to be working actively on Airbnb and on bed tax general enforcement, collection, things like that. I want to highlight that in this budget, the current budget projections for bed tax revenue does not take into account any changes to the law. So this is our increased estimate with no changes, no increased tax percentage, no increase to include 1 through 6 bedroom Airbnbs and VRBOs. We are in the process of putting together some plans internally to be able to keep track of where the Airbnbs are and how to make sure that they are currently paying. I didn't realize this until just recently, but Airbnb and VRBOs do not pay sales tax, not just bed tax. They don't pay sales tax as
Why
well.
not?
They are not required to by the state. So there is legislation being carried by some to change that. So that would also be a big increase for us because not just bed tax revenue, but sales tax revenue would be huge.
Couldn't we just require a permit for those type of buildings? And then we know, I mean, you hire a whole person, seems like it would defeat any money.
Well, it's a part-time position paid for directly out of the bed tax revenue, and it's actually not even being budgeted in this budget. It's actually covered under the treasurer's budget as well.
But if they had to have a permit,
It's a great question. We talked a little bit about permitting countywide. There seem to be some concerns with home rule and requiring things like that across the entire county. It's worth a conversation.
anybody going in business gotta get a permit. So is that selectively enforcing this?
I think
mean,
it's the
everybody in
first question,
business,
probably.
The local municipality.
Yeah.
Governing it instead of the county telling the local municipalities like never what they gotta do.
It's much like a
well, I
rental
just
permit.
don't think it's a bad, we're not telling somebody to do something bad when we're saying if this is an Airbnb or a Vrbo or whatever, we need to have it identified so we have a list.
DBA, they should be having a
Yeah.
DBA.
I don't think that's
Well, there's your permit. If you have a DBA, you
to
know
ask.
something.
And you'd have a list, and you'd be able to go by your list.
Well, there's a company that offers that by scraping some sort of, I don't know the exact term, but they scrape the internet listings to give you locations, pricing, and all that information. So we are currently receiving data on, generally speaking, where they're located generally. What we don't have is to the address. We don't know on 13 Main Street is currently an Airbnb with 6 bedrooms rented 32% of the time. There's a company that offers those, and we're looking at contracting with them to have that data directly in hand.
Well, I mean, if you had that, would you really need another body?
Someone has to follow up with them. You have to be I don't want to say door to door, but you need to be able to maintain. When there's no sales tax revenue coming in, there's not even really a set process for receiving the bed tax revenue.
I can't believe that'll go on much longer, but, I mean, hotels are really gonna put up with that, but everybody's paying
I
tax.
know, you're right.
Yeah.
It seems like an equity issue for sure. So it is being pushed forward. So the point is that our budget will bump if those things changes, and it could, much to Real's point, our projections would be, if we were to change. So we currently only charge a 4% bed tax in Oswego County. All of our surrounding counties are anywhere between 6 to 8. So we are substantially below our sister counties. There is room there to increase that if we wanted to. It's a conversation we can have on the local level. And then the obvious change would be to include the Airbnbs and VRBOs. Currently, we only charge bed tax if you have 6 or more rooms, where the majority of our Airbnbs and VRBOs are less than 6.
Is that our ruling?
That's our rule. Now, it does need to be changed at the state level.
Okay.
But it's a home rule that we get passed through them. So it is something we would have to put forward with our senators and our assemblymen. My understanding is that conversation has been ongoing, and the hope would be in the new session that will be something that is raised.
I can't see it as a problem.
We've been trying to do it since 2017.
Well, what seems to be the answer? That they can have a tax-free business?
Well, I don't know I didn't really realize they didn't pay regular sales tax. This was just the bed tax we've been trying to get.
Are they paying regular sales tax, Tim?
No, I was told they're not, and that just came through one of our associates.
So if I book something, you're not gonna pay it, you're not gonna pay anything, I'm gonna try to
They
do
may
it.
be charging you, but
That's crazy.
And they may say that they're including tax, but there is no tax, so it's a little bit more money for you.
Yeah, but I mean, say you're paying with a credit card, it's gonna go to that business, so when you're gonna deposit that into a bank. I don't know, I have to find that out. I don't see how they get around it.
Are they doing federal income tax on it?
I can see,
That's a big question, income tax. Are they, declaring this?
a lot of them don't consider them businesses. They like, oh, it's like a garage sale. You know, I'm not going to charge sales tax. I'm not going to do these things because I'm having a garage sale. It's just me. You know, it's like, oh, I have a bedroom in my house. I'm going to rent out. It's not a business. I'm just, you know, putting it up. So
I think Airbnb,
there's this gray area.
Entities are not requiring
Right.
that it be sticky.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that is moving forward. We did get an update at the county planners meeting that I attend, letting us know that that is something that the state is actively looking at.
Well, it's really important because our tourism dollars that we're spending, and the beautiful places that we have, that people are promoting their places, and we're promoting them to come here, and they're finding the VRBO to be here. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. I don't know how we have not, done this. The idea that they're able to not claim, I mean, so the credit card goes to the entity that's online, and then they somehow must transfer directly to the bank account like you would with an eBay account or something like that. So, do they have to present 1099s at the end of the year for how much they've sent to a particular house renter? I don't know. I mean, because it's got to be a lot of money for somebody who has a beautiful house on the lake and they're renting it all summer long or
Well,
whatever.
the local portion of sales tax is 4%. So not just our 4% bed tax, but now an additional 4% sales tax we'd be looking at if this goes through. So it could be $500,000.
Can you keep researching that, Tim? Would you? I mean, I think that's.
I'm gonna route one and see what happens. Okay.
For research.
Yeah, I've only rented out a state.
Give me the receipt, then take it from there.
I don't know. Yeah.
I've never done it.
I do know there are hotels that have been complaining that they're doing all of this, and all of a sudden down the road, you got somebody opening up their house. This one's opening up their house for a couple. They're losing the income.
It's like a bank versus a credit union. There's a whole big difference out of rules, so.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too, as we talk about, I fully expect we're going to see new hotels coming into this county. There is a need, without a doubt. I think I've shared with most of you, but the baseball company that we're working with that lease out our field, they also booked hotel rooms, and they booked 6,000 hotel rooms in the last year and a half. 6,000. But unfortunately, 2/3 of those have been in Onondaga County or Jefferson County because we don't have enough hotel rooms available in this county. So with Micron coming and all that's going to be coming along with that, I fully expect we're going to see more hotels. I think this is an important conversation to have. We're being prepared for that. So.
Okay, any other questions for promotion and tourism? All those in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Yes. Okay, last but not least, planning and community development.
All right, so I've got
169.
Thank you.
All right, so in this budget, historically, we have had the mobility management, just a part of planning. This year, with bringing Heather Snow in, unfortunately, she's not able to be here. She's finalizing a grant that hopefully bringing a bunch more money into the county for mobility management. We were all here and heard her updates in the past. She's doing an incredible job. Some systemic issues we've had in transportation for a long time have been dealt with, and really doing an incredible job across the county. So I encourage you all, if you have any questions. She puts together a weekly report that's incredible. So anyone would like to see that, if you're not already seeing it, I'll make sure you get that. So mobility management, as everyone knows, is a federally funded, federally state, local funded program. It is, if you look at your budget, you'll notice it's a little bit funny because if you look at our current year to date, everything we spend for mobility management is reimbursed at the end of the year, so you don't really see it coming in ahead of time. It's something that we go back and get. But it is federally funded 80%, state funded 10%, and then locally we fund 10%. I believe, if I read this right, Phil, that 10% local has been covered under ARPA. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's on a drawn-down plan.
So you'll see everything in there. There's a lot of cool programs we're working on.
Share, Phil.
43. For 2000, yeah, 43.
So
And that decreases to 2006. And that decreases to
171.
So mobility management is its own department now. You can kind of see that in there again.
But it says at the bottom, the net county is a positive for the county, 4,904. On page 172.
Negative.
Oh,
It's in parentheses. Oh, it's over. Wow.
You can zero that, if you want, you can zero that out. Probably, is that a problem in retirement going up?
Yeah, retirement.
Yeah, so we could just reduce the ARPA allocation, bring that to 0.
So, ARPA's over a 3-year drawdown.
Right, so we draw down, yeah, it'll be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 to absorb it.
Yeah, if you look, the difference is in the requested, the retirement was 11,000 and then it changed. Once the real retirement numbers came in, it dropped down to 6,000. And that's the difference. And it became negative 4,904, but we can drop down that ARPA number.
Mhm.
And that will zero that number out. Right now, that's a negative 4,000.
I understand.
Currently, we just have one staff member specifically to this department, which is Heather Snow. And she's obviously assisted with a number of other areas as well, but she's the one employee there. Yeah.
That's a penalty.
So do you want to make an amendment to create that change there with the 4,904?
The amendment could simply be to adjust the ARPA revenue to produce a 0 net.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor of the amendment? Okay. Any other discussions? Then we can vote on the amendment, the budget as amended.
Did we move the mobility management already? Okay.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to move the mobility management budget first. And then I'll make the motion again to amend the ARPA.
Second. And then to approve the motion as amended, the budget as amended.
Let's just, to make it the right order, let's re-vote on the amendment.
Okay. We'll re-vote on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, amendment passes.
And then on the full budget.
And then to vote on the budget as amended.
Yes. We're good.
Yes? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Ray seems particularly excited about that whole process.
Good. Love me some Robert's process. Okay, so if I could jump down to housing, section 8. I don't think we've really addressed that one too awful much in the history, and I spent a lot of time making sure I understood the program. I think I gave a little update last month on some of the challenges that section 8 office has been dealing with as far as state mandated and state mandates as opposed to our voucher system. The number you see here has to do with our contract that we contract with the state to provide the services of rental assistance. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just want to make sure.
I just want to make sure I got it on the right page. 172.
So the income or the revenue line for Section 8 has to do with a projection of how many vouchers we expect to fill. We do believe that number can be increased, and that is something I'll be looking at in the next year upcoming, is how we increase the vouchers that are filled. We know how many vouchers we have, 490 I think it is, but we only get paid based on those that are actually filled. Someone's living in the house, we get paid. The state will pay us up to 100%. If all 490 are filled every month, we'll get paid on each of them. I think it's $45 per voucher per month we get as part of our contract. The issue we talked about before is that that's been difficult to fully fill because we've been dealing with the state changing the way we're allowed to put people in. We can't just go find the top of the list, who's on it, who's been waiting 14 months, and get them in there. The state has been prioritizing the homeless population, which I won't speak to the reasoning behind that, but what I will speak to is that's a very difficult group to fill those vouchers. They take a lot longer to fill, potentially 2 to 3 months, and even once we get through the 3-month process, somewhere in 2 out of every 3 that we attempt to fill don't fill. The person is not interested at the end of 3 months or doesn't return the final paperwork, so we can't put them in there. So as much as we can stay on top of it as an office, there's 4 employees down there, it's very, very difficult because sometimes you don't know where these folks are. Sometimes you can't mail them things all the time. So you're working with a social worker, you're working with Victory or something like that. But again, that is not a local control. That is our responsibility based on the state requirements of the contract. So we are working on ways to better that process, but it's difficult. And there's, with the population we're working with, it's tough. The other issue is we're having very trouble getting down to and even lower on our waiting list, because unfortunately when folks fall off, they just go to the bottom of the prioritized list of the homeless folks, and then they end up coming back up again. So there are times we've worked with the same individual multiple times over a year and never been able to place them. And so we don't get paid by the state. They only pay us still. So just those some difficulties we're working on. I have some plans on how to work through that a little bit better. We did replace, again, 4 employees, 2 of those employees in the last 6 months. And so we're at a place now where we've got some really excellent people down there. They're doing a great job. We're catching up and able to kind of get to the point where we're able to, instead of, the joke about, just keeping your head above water, we're able to be swimming a little bit in a proactive direction. One of the things that is not included in this budget, but I would really like to see this year, is there's a program called the FSS program, the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. It's an excellent program. What it does is it essentially puts money in an account for folks as they work themselves off of benefits. So if you are currently getting rental assistance, which again is what this program is, you've qualified, you're in a voucher, you're living in a place and they're say paying $800 of your monthly rent. Well, you go out and you get a job, you're bettering yourself. But fortunately, as we've all seen the benefit clips, what ends up happening is those folks lose benefits. Instead of, maybe they make $200 more a month, but they're going to lose $80 a month from the rent coverage. Right now they're going to pay more. So you don't quite make that same return by working. What this program does is a federal program that allows you to put money in a bank account for them. So if you save yourself some, you save the state money is the idea, because you're working now and you're making more money, instead of just saying, oh, you lose that money, you don't. They bank it for you. And then when you get off of services completely, you graduate from the program and you are no longer on rental assistance, they give you that check, that amount of money in your escrow account that you can use for a down payment. You can use it to buy a car. You can use it for almost anything. But you are now off the program. This is what we, I think, have been looking to do, is find ways to encourage people that hand up, right, not hand out. How do we get people off of programs? This is the perfect federal program to do that. It's also fully reimbursed by the federal government. And so the position will be paid for, because again, they see the value in encouraging people off the programs. There's some issues we have internally, staffing-wise, just logistics, where I'm going to put this person. I'll talk to Rachel a little bit about working with them on this barriers to employment, and maybe there's a way to kind of couple these people together. But it's a great program. It's something I'd like to bring to the county. The city offers it currently. I think they graduate somewhere around 4 to 5 people a year in the program. So just want to give everyone the heads up. That's what I'm looking to do. I think it's a great program, and it should be net zero to the cost of it. May not be 24, maybe 25, but hoping to see that.
Motion to discuss? Second. Tim, would you say we give them money money into a savings account? Where does that money come from?
So it comes from what would be paid to the landlord. Because the landlord is getting less money directly from the state for the program, the money would, instead, say that landlord usually gets $800, well now the tenant needs to pay $200 of the $800. So the landlord's still getting $600 from the state, but the $200 extra that the tenant is now paying, that gets banked. And
so the landlord's losing out.
No, the landlord's now getting $600 from the state and $200 from the tenant, as opposed to $800 from the state.
Okay.
So the tenant now has to pay a little bit more, but the extra money that the state is saving, they're banking for the tenant when they graduate.
So they're still paying the same amount.
Yeah.
Ultimately, yes, but the long-term benefit is that now they're off the program 2 years from now. So it's an investment in individuals. It's a cool program.
Little ownership.
Exactly. And it encourages people to not give up by getting a job.
If it's already working in the city, think about it. If you get 4 or 5 families a year just in the city alone off of total service, that's a pretty good deal.
Well, and we've talked about that. The best way to get someone out of poverty is home ownership. It's one of the greatest programs you can do, along with a good job, right? So now you have a program that sets money aside to give you that down payment that you probably don't have otherwise to get out of that. So I think it's a really cool, you could partner with the land bank. There's a lot of cool opportunities to work with where you can start to get people truly out of poverty, break that generational poverty. So it's a great program. I'd love to see it happen. I just give a little heads up. We'll see if we can get that next year, probably it'll be 25 though. And that's housing. Other than that, everything it's essentially covered by the contract with the state. The only way we would have a local share is if we cannot fully lease up or put together a plan that gets those in there. That'd be a small local share to cover the difference.
Any other questions? Tim? All those in favor of this budget? Opposed?
And the last one is planning. As Dan mentioned earlier, Dan is really overseeing day-to-day with tourism, doing a great job on it. We've got a bunch of really dedicated staff doing an amazing job. And so because of that, we moved his salary over to pretty much fully covered by the tax revenue. And so they did save a little bit of money on our planning side because technically he's not being paid out of tourism. We have not added any additional staff in planning. It's a conversation we've talked about with Micron coming. We've seen other communities that have added additional planners. We have a comprehensive plan. It's a big deal. We were updating our comprehensive plan for the county for the first time in over 20 years. There will be a heavy lift to that. I do believe with my current staff, that are very experienced, and we should be able to handle that. But it's a conversation we've talked about. Other than that, we've got some other really cool programs going on. CDBG program, we've got an EPA program that I think Legislator Schottman mentioned, where we're able to work with potential sites for development that haven't had the opportunity to be developed because of environmental issues. We're providing phase 1 and phase 2 benefits to those individuals who own those properties at no cost to them. So they're able to get these two services somewhere between, the phase 2 could cost $20,000, $30,000, and we have about a $600,000 grant from the federal government to provide that. So we work with folks in Mineta, we work with folks across the county. And so if you would know of any areas that potentially...
Use every bit of it for any property that could be developed, remediated.
But we put out a lot of information. We're having trouble getting enough interest. So if you know, and Buck Dawson and a number of other
Well, I think you
legislators...
gotta look at properties and maybe approach people. Some people are nervous about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal.
Sometimes, especially with private, and I've seen it with municipalities too, is that you do that, what's the catch? Does this mean I have to clean it up because you found something? And that kind of worries people sometimes that...
People are afraid of EPA and deep, you know.
And understandably so, but ultimately if we had I won't say specifically, but there was a project that we approached. They didn't want to do it because it's that idea of I'd rather not go to the doctor and find out what's wrong with me, right? And unfortunately, there was an issue that was found, and they had to pay all that money plus some additional because they had to address it. So sometimes it's better to know and then figure out how to deal with it. There is funds, EPA funds, to address those issues, and brownfield funds and some other areas. So,
well, I think if every legislator was notified in every district to look at what's become derelict or in a prime area that can be developed, it's certainly worth bringing it forward.
We did reach out to some planning boards, and we reached out to realtors as well. That thought was they'll know what properties need it, and so we've had some conversations. I think we've helped 18 properties at this point throughout the county. I'll double check that, but we are working with CNS to do that. That's a local consultant.
Hey, I hope this plan works. They never used Gold's 2000.
Some of it.
Oh, I read the whole thing. It was never implemented,
So we'll be working on that. We're going to be putting out RFP in the early, probably January time to get a consultant in to really help us put that together. Legislature set aside some money for that, and so we're going to work on that internally. The other thing I want to mention is we do have, obviously the Micron Steering Committee, we've been doing a lot of Micron work, partnering with Dave Turner and Strategic Initiatives, Austin as well. And obviously workforce, we know the need. The housing is a crucial need, so it's another area we're focusing on. So anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I know, and I think I mentioned the infrastructure study with CNS. That's another big deal. So that one's moving forward as well.
So, maybe you just said something, I was trying to focus on the budget. Where are we with the comprehensive plan and the county planning committee reviving that with the towns?
So we're in the process. I've talked to the county administrator. We're going to be looking to work with them as far as the shared services meetings go to kind of share where we're headed as a county. Right now, there have not been any money specifically earmarked for the towns and villages. There's just the interest in doing so. We would like to get together. One of the requests of the legislature was to have a better understanding of what towns and villages would like from us. And so that will be a process we're going to be putting together. Part of our countywide comprehensive plan is to put together a steering committee or a party of interest, right? Anyone throughout the county who makes sense. The county is made up of towns and villages, and so the county can't just come out and say, here's our plan, deal with it, right? Instead, we need to really be working with those towns and villages. And so that's going to be part of our plan. I think what we're going to look to do is get a consultant on board first so that we don't maybe outstep and then have a consultant come in and say, well, you really should have done this. These are the experts. They're the ones who've been doing it all across the state. We want to make sure we bring in their expertise. But we fully expect to need to bring in members from all throughout the county planning board to make the most sense, probably working with some of the town village attorneys as well. But we want to make sure we have the input of all those town villages. And there will be some
the authority is at that level, the expertise is not there.
Correct. That is correct. And we've been seeing that. We've been a lot more vocal with our town and village planning boards. The 239 process that legislature just voted to expand the conversation, expand the conversation, has given us an opportunity to have more conversations internal with those planning boards. So we're excited about that.
With planning, obviously, I mean, you're on so many different levels of it, but you are involved in all of the wastewater and water meetings and stuff, because, I mean, if you don't know about it, it's gonna be very difficult for county planning. I just wanna make sure infrastructure is also in planning.
Yeah, those are conversations we're having. I mean, obviously, the county has a strategic initiatives department, and that is very much a concentration of that office. We've been working with them to make sure that we're, working alongside each other, make sure we have the same direction.
Okay, good to know. Any other questions for Ted? All those in favor of passing his budget on planning? Any opposed? Passes. And I think that's all she wrote. To adjourn, second. Thank you, everybody. It was extremely informational. Thank you.
Bill?